and happy Labor Day to every one of us, wherever you're joining us from. Workers are the strengths of the nations, and it's yet a wonderful opportunity to be joining you this particular afternoon and on this Labor Day. And with us, I can see all the panelists on the side have already joined us, and will be joining us in various segments and presentation that we'll be having this afternoon. This session is brought to you by ABMC International, and the current webinar is a second series from what we build up from the first series, where we were looking at challenges currently facing the PA, or the emergence of the virtual PA. That's what we're actually focusing on the first webinar. On this particular webinar, we're looking at becoming future ready, and within development of this particular course, I came up with a word called FOR, F-O-R, FOR. So future fit, on demand, and resilience. And this is a course which is looking, or a webinar which is looking at preparing us to be ready, or if you are ready, to be future fit, to have resilience, and also to be on demand in terms of what we are doing. I have various speakers, as you can see on the screen, and they will be presenting for us this particular afternoon. And the function of this particular webinar is to give you insights in terms of how to moderate this particular session, and also to give you some hits. We've enabled only the panelists. You can only see the panelists on the screen. And also, we've muted your microphone. So if you want to ask a question, there's a chat tab. And here is the emphasis. There is question and answer tab, and there is the chat tab. All your questions, I want you to address them on the question tab. And all the chats, checking up, commenting, and everything, you can use them on the chat. If you want to chat to the panelists, you can chat them on the side. But for purposes of Q&A, I would encourage you to use Q&A tab, which is located at the middle of the screen. Also, try and check who is already joining in. Try and connect with one another. Most of us have been on lockdown, and others are resuming to work. It's a wonderful opportunity to also connect on this particular webinar. And without much ado, mine is to introduce the session this afternoon. And the program we run as displayed on the screen. The first facilitator is Nanna, then Andrew, Osundwa, Rabison Shumba, and then Nanna, and then Andrew, and then Rebecca. So that is the order. Each of them has 10 minutes of presentation, and within their presentation, they will wait until the end for Q&A. So all the questions that you have, ensure you use the Q&A tab to chat with them and ask questions. And then as we go on, they will respond to some of the questions. We'll be able to interject also in terms of answering during the Q&A session. Before I join in the first speaker, I would like to bring to the attention of the moderator for this particular session. That will be none other than Victoria Karanja. She's the director at ABMC International. She's joining in this afternoon also to take us through. I just want to see if Victoria is already there. Okay, she will be joining us as we proceed. So let me introduce the first speaker. That is Rabison Shumba. Rabison Shumba is a facilitator and a professional speaker to start with. He's a TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and also he's graced many international conferences. He's a master trainer, seasoned strategist with over 24 years of experience in helping multinational corporations succeed in helping businesses. Rabison is author of a number of transformational books, executive coach, as well as social entrepreneur. He's well-traveled, having done consultancy, training, speaking, and facilitation globally. And Rabison is the COO of Vumilia Group, based in Johannesburg, South Africa. This afternoon, Rabison will be taking us through a thought-shifting process of discussing a topic on executive assistant as a change agent, and also looking at the challenges that are currently facing the PA. So as I introduce Rabison, and I find this to be something quite popular, I just want to load one poll, just to see where you guys are joining us from. And it's also a good indication for the panelists. They're able to know where you guys are joining. So as we continue, show us where you're coming and joining us this webinar from. It will give us a good indicator as presenters and also panelists to know how we channel our discussion as we proceed on. So as I stop my screen share and introduce Rabison. Are you there, Rabison?
Yes, I am, sir. Thank you.
Good stuff. I'll let the poll continue for like a minute as Rabison is bringing his screen on. There you are. So awesome. So I'll be stopping in the next 1, 2, 3. Now I'll be stopping now. Okay, and sharing the results. So we have majority of you joining us from Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, and let me see if there's someone, and other countries. I think there are other countries which are not listed because the poll minimizes the amount of polls that the questions they can be able to answer. So at least it's a good indication where we are joining us this particular afternoon, and I'm sure as we continue, most of us are going to be joining us. We had over 120 registered participants this afternoon. So as we proceed, I'm sure a majority of us are going to be joining us as we proceed. So over to you, Rabison, as I stop sharing this. And welcome.
Fantastic.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here and always a privilege to discuss with the executive assistants. A part of my history is that I was an executive assistant to a group CEO of a multi-billion-dollar business. And I do have some level of experience in terms of what this role entails. And some of the things I'll be discussing this afternoon concerning what's your role as an executive assistant in as far as change is concerned are things I've experienced. So let's get right into it. What are some of the challenges that an executive assistant faces? And I will summarize them as follows. Some of these challenges are traditional, some are current, and some of them are challenges we are going to face in the future. Right now, a lot of us are, our tummies are rumbling concerning the uncertainty of the security of our jobs. Over the years, we've been talking about you need to evolve yourself. You need to upskill yourself. You need to position yourself so that you remain relevant in the future. Right now, a lot of us are grappling with work-life balance. In other words, can I integrate my work into my life? It's no longer about work-life balance. It's more about work-life integration. The other key challenge is obviously dealing with difficult people. People are getting more difficult. There's a lot of agitation, uncertainty. Our bosses are anxious and angry at the same time concerning the challenges that they are facing in the business. There are also situations where sometimes as an EA, people feel you're less important. They disregard you in certain decisions, and yet those decisions affect you. That's a challenge that we face now and we faced in the past. The other issue is about everybody has an expectation that you will fix everything. Even if you don't have the tools, even if you don't have enough resources, they still expect you here and now working from home to be the fixer. They say Mrs. Fix It or Mr. Fix It. Another expectation that you have, which is a key challenge again that we face, is that you are expected to know everything that is going on in the organization. They expect you to have the tabs. The teams are expecting, the executives are also expecting. You're sort of in the middle. They expect you to know everything, even though in some webinars, in some Zoom meetings that are going to be happening, and some strategic sessions that will be happening, you're not involved. But as an executive assistant, you're expected to know. But also, even though you don't know everything, they will blame you. When things go wrong, the executive assistant didn't do their job. They will expect you to be always available. Why were you offline? We needed you. So this is a list, and there could be many other issues that we are facing. And as we go through this webinar, it's my role to identify some of the solutions. And I've summed them up in 2 sentences. Number 1, change has come, change is imminent. We have to understand that change is a part of our lives. You need to participate in the change process. In other words, become a change agent. Be the one who's making sure that you are participating in the whole equation. Remain relevant in the whole equation. Number 1, upskilling yourself determines your relevance. I mentioned it many times that your employability is not your employer's responsibility, it is your responsibility. So do you want to remain relevant in the future? Keep remaining relevant and upskilling yourself. What are some of those changes that we are going to be facing and we're already facing right now? We have changed in the way we work. We have changed in where we are going to be working from. The geography is going to affect how you work as well. Telecommuting is part of the equation. Everything has gone virtual. There's the issue of flexible working arrangements. Some employers will approach employees concerning flexibility. They want to cut costs. Can we do a flexible arrangement? There's a possibility, though, that EA's role may be outsourced. What happens in that equation gives you an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to build a business, to start a business here and now, so that your employer gives you the right of first refusal to say, hey, we want to outsource this to you. You can immediately start a business. Where we are working, there'll be a number of policy shifts, policy directions. As an EA, you need to stay awake and stay alert to those particular changes. Again, very critical. Some of the skills that we need to develop, we now need to understand that your boss will be not in your house, but somewhere an IP address away. How do I manage a boss who's not sitting right next to me? That's a role you need to play. So as a change agent, what is your role? You have a facilitative role. You are supposed to facilitate the change you want to see in the organization. You are helping your organization to achieve its goals. You are helping your organization to achieve the outcomes that they've always had, those strategic imperatives or strategic intent of the organization, the processes that they're bringing about. That's the facilitative role. But you remain a gatekeeper. You are a boundary spanner, as I said earlier on. You are the bridge between the team and the executive. You are a negotiator. So these are essential for you to become the change agent that is necessary. The more you are a change agent, the more relevant you become, and the more people cannot dispose of you. You have a diagnostic role as a change agent. You determine where the pain points are. You determine lessons that we are learning in the equation. These challenges that the organization is facing, remain alert to those. Remember, they want you to know everything. Very critical. You have an architectural role as well as a role to mobilize. Architecture in terms of designing situations, events, and conversations, raising levels of awareness so that this change can be facilitated well. What do we mean by mobilizing? You're advocating for a particular perspective and a particular approach. Remember, as executive assistants, it remains our role to be the ones to profile our titles and our responsibilities so that the organization can see us as befitting. This, I will not spend a lot of time on, but it's very important to understand that as a change agent, there are certain attributes you need to have. You need to be a communicator of note. You need to be a networker, a facilitator. Remember, I said you're a bridge. You need to be capable of engaging the people around you. You need to be proactive. Instead of waiting for the change to happen, be the one proactive enough to be able to facilitate that change. Work cooperatively with different offices, and these are things that you require. And some of you, I believe you already have these qualities. Work cooperatively with others. But more than anything else, understand the environment in which your business operates. Is it a competitive environment? What are the social dynamics that the organization is facing? And as an executive assistant, don't have a silo mentality. Be as wide as possible in terms of your exposure to the environment. But here's the thing, you have to be a role model. There are areas you need to focus, and I won't spend a lot of time on them, but just for you to understand that you have a responsibility to model some of these things, because as a change agent, people look up to you. We are in an era where we have a challenge of time. You need to be more organized more than ever before. You need to sharpen those skills. Your talent, your skill level also needs to go up. You need to model the fact that you're always learning, you're adapting to the new changes that are there, but more than anything, you're also a problem solver. So develop problem solving skills and ability to manage your time as well. Discipline with financial resources. Wherever you are, you have access to company resources. Again, treasure is a key element. You need to demonstrate that. There are many projects you are going to run remotely. It's a skill that you need to have. There are events you are going to run remotely. You are going to be organizing Zoom meetings and a number of key activities, making teams work together. Tasks and projects need to be coordinated. Market influence, your territory that you have access to, also, you need to model in that particular area. Managing the team and your colleagues that you work with, very critical more than ever before. But in this equation, you'll find that there'll be a lot of temperaments and a lot of emotions. You are also going through emotions yourself, so be able to model how you should be handling yourself in this era. As we work remotely, as we work in different locations, we now need to trust each other. Your boss needs to trust you. You need to trust your boss. You need to trust people that are not in your vicinity. You need to manage relations. You need to manage the network that you have access to. But possibly you are asking me, now what traits do I need to have for me to be a change agent? And I'll breeze through these, borrowing from John C. Maxwell, says you need to have integrity. You're working remotely, have integrity. The things that you do when people are not there demonstrate your level of integrity. Nurture people, nurture and have faith in people. There are certain things you're always going to delegate to others as an executive assistant. Yes, you are assisting, but there are certain things you need to give to a PA. There are certain things you need to give to a driver. There are certain things you give to different individuals for the common goal to be achieved. But be a listener more than anything. You can't change unless you listen and understand what is happening. But here's the thing. Enlarge people. You can't take people where you've never been. Navigate. If you understand the vision of the organization, you are able to help people navigate through it. They expect you to know everything. They expect you to keep tabs on what's going on. Connect with people at different levels. You are the chain. You are the glue that laminates everything together. Empower people. Share what you know. Many of you now need to develop your presentation skills to be able to empower others. That's how you show relevance, even as you go into the future. Don't be on the sidelines. Gone are the days where you are quiet and behind your desk and just focusing on your screen. Now you need to go out there, present, Zoom meetings, participate as much as possible, but you replicate yourself in others as well. What is my charge to executive assistants? And this is very critical as I draw towards the end. You cannot help facilitate change that you yourself are resisting. In what way are you aware of the change that is imminent? Let me locate my timekeeper here. You cannot facilitate that particular change. But you will also not be an effective change agent to something you do not understand. You are one question away from your level of raising your level of understanding. Always seek new knowledge. Always seek to understand what is going on. Keep tabs on what is happening in the organization. When you understand, only then can you facilitate that particular change and help your organization also grapple through the challenges that are presenting themselves. But when you open your eyes to also the benefits of change, you become better in terms of making progress to amplify amplifying the threats that come with change. Yes, with every form of change, there are benefits. What are those? Be aware, raise your level of awareness to those benefits. But capitalize on the change that has come upon us. Yes, not every change, not every change is 100% beneficial. There are certain elements, pain points that we may have to go through, but be aware, raise your level of awareness to say, in this whole equation, I can also capitalize on what is happening. Instead of waiting for others to determine the change, be the change you want to see. Be a creator of the new normal. Be a participant in the new normal. Final thoughts come from Martin Luther King, who says something phenomenal. He says, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands. I would want to add woman there. The ultimate measure of a man or woman is not where he or she stands in moments of comfort, but where he or she stands in times of challenge and controversy. These are the times we are in right now. Jerry Garcia says, somebody has to do something. And it's just incredibly pathetic that it has to be us, the executive assistants. Somebody has to do something. The change we want to see determines or requires us to be intentional about it. Change will not just happen unless we are involved in it. When we get our hands onto the plow, only then can we be beneficiaries of this change. I believe in every single one of you. I believe that this change that has come, you will be a participant in it, and you will determine the course of action going into the future. Change is upon us, and change is really something that you need to apprehend and capitalize on. With that, I thank you.
Fabulous, Rabison, and thank you for the insights. I cannot overemphasize in terms of us shifting from
being the change agents in terms of this current particular pandemic. And unless we change in terms of the things that you've mentioned, for example, being true to ourselves, having level of integrity in terms of what we do during this particular pandemic, there are so many lessons you've mentioned, using technology, being the force of change that our bosses are expecting to see. You know, some of our bosses might be struggling to say, now what do I do when it comes to managing 2 or 3 aspects within the organization? Do they think of you as a support agent in terms of what is happening currently? So rising to the occasion and providing that support is what we need to be able to showcase during this particular time. Thank you so much, Rabison. That was impactful. I would like to go on to bring in the next facilitator. The other speaker who's joining us this afternoon is none other than Nanna Apokwor Tetteh, joining us from Ghana. She's an executive assistant and communication support staff at Plan International in Ghana. Nanna is a professional executive assistant with over 10 years of wealth of experience. She is a bilingual translator who has helped business to achieve their corporate goals. Nanna currently is based in Accra, Ghana, where she reaches out with business solutions. This afternoon, Nanna is sharing with us a topic on skills executive assistants need to adapt in times of crisis that ensure business continuity post-pandemic. So it's actually more of a business partnering post-pandemic. So over to you, Nanna. This is quite a good topic to hear about. Are you there, Nanna? There she is. Good.
All right. Good afternoon, good morning from Ghana, everybody again. So I think Rabison has done almost all the work. Rabison, thank you so much for setting the pace for the job. It's going to be pretty easy now that you have done almost it all. So like I said, we're going to look at essential skills to survive in the new terrain or in the new era that we have gotten ourselves into. What does it mean for us? Sorry?
Put for us the full screen so that we're able to see this, the slide share. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so what does it mean for us as executive assistants, and how are we going to take advantage of the situation, or how are we going to make ourselves relevant as in the situation that we find ourselves in? We have the full screen now, do we? Okay, all right. So like Rabison mentioned earlier, things have changed. The terrain has changed, and we can't keep on complaining, or we can't expect that things are done the way that we want them to be done. And so we have to adapt. We have to become part of the change. We have to integrate ourselves into the change that has come, okay? And we find that in this age, or in these times, executives are less reliant on the admin support or the admin function of executive assistants. That's not to say that it doesn't exist. It still exists anyways, but they are less dependent on the admin function of executive assistants. They are looking at the executive assistant as being more strategic, more of a strategic partner, more of a problem solver, a professional problem solver. And you know, the role has shifted beyond the basic administrative stuff or the basic administrative function or support that we could give to our executives. How then do we position ourselves to make sure that we are rendering the aid that we are supposed to give? Now, having transformed from the supporting role to more of a strategic one, we would have to adapt, or would have to develop some skills, or maybe hone the already existing skills that we have. Okay, what are these skills that we are looking at? Now, whether you're looking at staying on the EA path, or hoping to use the role as a springboard to your dream job or to your dream role, these are some of the skills that you will need to wow your bosses and still make the biggest impact for your team. Okay, so one of the skills that we're looking at is tech prowess. Now, in our age now, or even in this pandemic, you can tell that our job still works. We still have to work anyways, but how do we work? You need to be on top of your technical, your IT skills or your IT game. You can't be efficient or you can't be effective in our time now if you do not have enough technical prowess. Okay, your boss is looking at you to be able to set up online meetings, to be able to reach out to people the world over. Now, how are you going to do it if you do not have the requisite tech prowess that is required for your job? You would need to do it. Now, like Rabison mentioned, the EA is supposed to know everything. You're supposed to just know everything, even if you don't know, you're supposed to know. Now, how do you know? Learn. You just need to be able to learn at all times. So yes, I'm sure that most of us got to know about Zoom and other meeting sites in the midst of this pandemic. How are you able to get yourself to fit into this? You just need to be able to hone your technical, your IT skills to stay on top of your game. Otherwise, you may not be relevant in these times. Now you need to also look at the bigger picture. You're not seated just outside the door of your boss, so you don't expect that he reaches out to you. Like Rabison mentioned, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of anger. Our executives are having to take a lot of high-level decisions. How are you able to support them in these times? You need to be able to look at the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? Where is the organization driving to? How are you able to support them to drive towards the direction that the organization is going to? So you need to be able to look at the bigger picture. What is happening in all these departments? What's happening with finance? What's happening with admin? What's happening with all the other departments of the organization? Because you need to be able to take decisions based on the bigger picture that you have. You need also to have expert level communication skills. Now, this one cannot be overemphasized. As an EA, you write everything that you say or everything that you write is deemed as the voice of your boss or the voice of the executive that you serve. How are you writing? Are you able to communicate what is intended? So you need to be able to hone your expert level communication skills to be able to reach out to people, to staff, to partners, to external vendors, to everybody with the right level of communication or the level of communication that is needed. At this point, writing, presentation, everything is very, very, very important for you as an executive assistant. The next thing is strategic multitasking. We've been told over and over again that multitasking is actually a myth, but as an EA, you are expected to be able to multitask. Now, what would it mean to be able to multitask? You just need to make sure that you're focusing on one thing at a time, whilst you're focusing on one major activity at a time. Now we can look at this technique of focusing on very, very important things. So if, for instance, you had to do activity A, focus 25 minutes of undivided attention on activity A, get it executed, and you move from there. Now you realize that you're able to do more if you're able to do this or to put this technique or this skill into practice. Then we can also look at other skills. I mean, outside of this pandemic, we could look at, say, if you had to drive or if you had to be on a plane to another location. Now, that is one activity that you're doing, but what can you be doing alongside? You can look at all that. You can be sending your mails, you can be replying your mails, you can be doing any other thing. Whilst you're on phone, or whilst you're on hold on a phone call, what can you do? You can decide to do some filing or, continue with research so that you don't waste your holding time on phone. That is what the strategic multitasking that is needed in these times. And then again, our job as executive assistants comes with a lot of jobs, a lot of activities or a lot of duties that we need to execute. You need to be able to prioritize. Prioritize is very, very important. And you cannot do this only by yourself. You'd have to be able to consult your executive or your superior to be able to to put the things that need to be done, the things that need urgent attention at a point, to do all of those things as and when they are needed. So prioritize is very important. At the end of the day, if you've done things, or you've executed activities, or you've carried out responsibilities, and these are not the priorities for your executive or the priorities for the business in a day, then you may as well have done nothing at all. So it is very important that you are able to ruthlessly prioritize and stick to your priorities for the day. Then, like I said before, you're supposed to know everything, be able to be like a superwoman or a superman, as it may be. So networking is very, very important. We cannot downplay the importance of networking. Assuming that your boss is asking you for something, or your executive is asking you for something that you may not have access to at the point. Having a good network can help you to get yourself around the tasks that you're supposed to execute in a day. So networking is very, very important. Join the right fraternities, join the right groups, join the right networks, join the right groups on social media. Get in touch with people who you know would be able to help you, not even when you need them. You may not build the network at the point when you need it, but once you build and you maintain your network, you find that it comes handy when you are hard pressed to carry out some tasks, or to meet some deadlines. So basically, I have very little time, but these are some of the skills that I think that if we look at, would be able to excel in our job as executive assistants. So I'd end it here, and then when it's time for questions and answers, we'll take the questions and answers as it may be. Thank you so much, Joseph. I end it here.
Thank you so much, Nanna, for your wonderful presentation on MIC. And thank you so much, because you've learned so much about tech progress, the big picture thinking, and the strategic multitasking. Third presenter, that is Andrew. I hope you can all see my screen. Our third presenter is Mr. Andrew Osundwa, Chairperson of Kenya National Secretaries Association. He is a trainer at the College of Human Resource Management. He is the 2018 winner of the Personal Year Award, and last year he got to get the prize of 2019 Executive Assistant awarded by ABMC International and the African PA magazine. Mr. Andrew also is the Pittman PA Super Archives finalist of 2019 and a PA in the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure, Kenya. With much further ado, Mr. Andrew, this is your platform, you're welcome.
Thank you, Vicky. And good morning, good afternoon to all those who are watching. Let me share my screen. You can see my screen? Thank you very much. My topic is how to optimize performance in post-pandemic for the modern assistant. And I'll begin the presentation by showing this photo that you can see on your screen. On the photo, you can see a bit of turbulence. There is some erosion that has taken place. There is some cruelty because of the nature of what has happened. There is some bare land. Some grid is coming. We can see some clouds coming up. And surely it reflects on what we are going through and what is happening. But when we see the clouds, in Africa, we'll say some rain is coming. There is a hope after this. And surely there is hope in the environment. If there is hope in the environment, as you can see, the tree is stretched. Those who have done physics, they say that there is the force of elasticity. We are still within the elasticity. We haven't broken. So the tree, it hasn't broken, but there is some turbulence that is happening. And this pandemic has come with various effects. We have the emotional effects, we have psychological effects, we have the social effects, emotional effects. This one is like behavior. Behavior has changed. People are doing things in a different way. Like when you walk on the streets, you are told to have the masks. You are told to walk in a different way. The people are in quarantine places. So this is coming with a change of some behaviors. Psychological, the mindset is changing, and there is anxiety everywhere. Social economic effect, this one is coming as a result of the various strategies that have been put in place so that we can curb this pandemic. We have the social distancing. I was laughing with some of my friends that even in your house, you need to maintain a social distance. These are things that we are not aware of. We are not used to. They are coming up, and we have to learn how to survive with them, how to move on so that we can give back to the society. We are told we have to get the hand sanitizers. You must have the mask, and these things, they are coming with a cost implication. And therefore, it is a situation that is making us to look for various strategies to survive on the market. There is a research that I've seen, I've tried to check out. The research is about the teleworking in Europe, and it was done in 2017. And the research shows that it is divided into quantiles. There is a bottom quantile, there is the second quantile, there is the middle quantile, fourth quantile, and top quantile. And the research has shown that top quantile, those people who have worked from home, they have more income as compared to those who have worked maybe who are supposed to physically attending the job. And surely there are some jobs that you cannot really work from home. You have to attend to it. And when I was looking at this research, it was trying to signify or give us a different direction, that change has come, and when change has come, we have to make a very, very dynamic decision. The world is at a crossroads, and as ears, you have to make a choice, either to turn right or left, but continuing straight down the same path that led to the present disaster is not a realistic, or it's never attractive at all. And therefore, there is a career shift that has come up, where the companies which have gone digital are adapting to the crisis better than their peers. Those companies that have absorbed and they are able to work online, they are at an advantage compared to the other companies. Business leaders need to devise a lockdown exit strategy. And you are a leader, you as AAs, you are leaders in different portfolios, and you have to devise some lockdown exit strategy so that you can move out. Another thing that I have found as a career shift is using of technology to augment, not to replace people. Because after this pandemic, there are going to be different changes. Another aspect is embracing the cultural and behavioral shifts that COVID-19 has introduced. In our country, there are even laws that have come in place, because if you don't wear a mask, then you are at loggerheads with the law enforcers. Partying is not allowed. Burials, it is restricted to very, very few people. And in our culture, where people want to go for burial, they want to act as a social support system to the empress, it is becoming very, very difficult, because there is a case where your loved ones, maybe they succumb to such a disease, and instead of even them sitting there to mourn with you, to have some social support, they are taken to the quarantine. These are the people that are coming to place, coming to work as your colleagues, as your bosses, and in various parameters. But now, what do we do? Because the shift has come. Number one strategy that can help us to optimize performance is repackaging the vision and the mission. The mission is, why are we existing? why is this organization existing? Or why am I existing as an EA or any other employee? Why am I existing? Then the vision is looking to the future, where we want to be. With a looming global economic crisis and the prospect of hundreds of millions, laborers losing their jobs and becoming even more impoverished, the potential for popular anger, racism, religious bigotry, outright neophysitism, they are taking another stage. And when they're taking another stage, it means that the mission that I have, you have to repackage it so that it can suit a future that is healthy, prosperous, self-sufficient, a workforce that is globally competitive. So number one, you have to repackage the vision and the mission, even in this recovery strategy journey. There are these, you have to discover the superpowers that are within you, because they are going to give a competitive edge to every EA who is on the market. The skills gap. This one, as an EA, you have to get more skills. Look at the decision-making skills, the communication skills, the listening skills, because it is said, when you listen, you know more. These are the skills that an EA has to get for you to remain on the verge of the superpower, for you to maintain the market, for you to be at the verge, for you to survive. The skills gap have to be worked on. Technology is an infinite today, and innovation enhancement is taking shape. All years, it is now a time for us to survive. Technology has to take shape. You have to know what is happening. Like right now, we are using the Zoom. We are using these other video conferencing packages. As an EA, for you to optimize your performance, they should be at your fingertips. Productivity and competitiveness is another factor. We are at the state where we are competing with machines. We are competing with softwares. We are competing with even our fellow colleagues. But for you to remain a superpower, you have to create a verge. You have to create a niche that is going to compete your competitors out of the market. Economic diversification. That an EA, you are trained to work for the executive. But a time has come that for you to remain, you have to diversify. I was making some stories with a friend of mine, and she was telling that she's now learning how to make cakes as an EA, but she is able to make cakes. There is consultancy aspect now is coming in, because those who are trained to be lawyers, they can do the consultancy work. There is writing, that those ones who are writing materials, motivation books, which can be read all over by other people. Good governance, that's about leadership, and EA's leadership is very important, that you take the lead, you take the direction of that organization, because it is said for every good EA or for every successful CEO, there is a very honest, hardworking EA behind. Good business environment, it is important that an environment that befits the standards is initiated for all the employees, and EAs, they are in the forefront to this battle. Value addition, are you adding value? Because the turbulence has come and has brought some effects. What value are you going to add? It is you as an individual, either attending courses, attending conferences, having some discussion with those people who are leaders in the industry to direct you so that you can add value to the organization that you are in. Inclusivity is also another aspect for you to remain a superpower. That are you inclusive enough that you are able even to work with those vulnerable people? You are able to bring all the sectors on board, because everybody has a different way of doing things. And God created people in a different way. Everybody has something unique that is very important to an organization. And when doing that, as an EA, you have to remember, you are able to remember some of the information. Are you able to understand? Are you able to analyze? Are you able to create? And be able to evaluate? And lastly is a quote that I got, very important, from Alvin Toffler, which says that the adaptive cooperation needs a new kind of leadership. It needs managers, adaptation equipped with a whole new set of nonlinear skills. Above all, the adaptive manager today must be willing to think beyond the thinkable, to reconceptualize products, procedures, programs, and purposes before crisis makes drastic change inescapable. My fellow colleagues, it's a high time that we think beyond the thinkable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for your rationale of the post-pandemic. Good insights there. I'd wish to share my screen.
The next speaker is Rebecca Afful, and she's joining us from Accra, Ghana, an administrative professional with over a decade experience in the provision of executive support and office management, working for different multinational organizations in different industries, aviation, banking, diplomatic. She's quite experienced. She's a member of Chartered Institute of Secretaries and Administrators, a program officer at International Water Management Institute in Accra, Ghana. And this afternoon, Rebecca will be sharing with us a topic on emotionally resilient assistant post-pandemic. This is one of the key competencies that we're actually championing in terms of this particular pandemic. Over to you, Rebecca.
I'm sharing with you on the topic, the emotionally resilient assistant post-pandemic. As an assistant, it's the nature of our role to be emotionally resilient. I don't know how you can survive as an assistant without being emotionally resilient, because we face a lot of challenges and setbacks as we go along our work, and we actually need to be emotionally resilient to be able to stay on top of our game. I believe this pandemic has even made this more challenging too. For those of us who are working virtually, you can agree with me that it hasn't been easy trying to meet expectations when you don't have the right environment to do so. It's even worse for us, those who are parents, having the kids around to do that. But this has to require some level of emotional resilience to be able to stay on top of your game. It has always been my dream to work from home, but this few weeks of working from home has really taught me to be mindful of what I wish for. Now I have to either stay up late or wake up earlier than everyone does in my home just to catch up on work. And all this brings about stress, and to be able to manage that, you need to be emotionally resilient. So today I'm going to share with you some tips that can help us to maintain our emotional resiliency. But before then, I'm going to share with you some things that we need to expect as we move out of lockdowns. I'm sure a lot of countries are coming out of lockdowns now. In Ghana here, for instance, ours was lifted barely 2 weeks ago. We actually don't know when this pandemic is going to be over, but we know that we'll still go back to work. And then I'm sure some have already returned to work, because I have friends who have already returned to work. And then I'll share with you what emotional resilience is all about. So what should we expect after the pandemic, or even post lockdowns? I believe that we are still going to maintain some of the precautionary measures that were put in place by WHO and by various organizations. I also believe that there are going to be operational changes. In fact, they are already operational changes, as some of us are working from home, which is not the norm. This was not what we were doing before. I also think that if we survive this pandemic, if we don't get the virus, we don't get infected, and we don't die, we should expect that we might lose a family member or a friend or a colleague to this virus. Even if we don't, we should expect that it's possible that some colleagues of ours may be bereaved. Now, what are some of the precautionary measures that will continue? I believe social distancing is going to continue. And so if you work in a shared office space, you should expect that your organization may put some measures in place just for you to practice social distancing. We may keep on wearing protective equipment like the face mask. There's going to be obviously reduction in business travel. And so if you're an assistant that supports an executive who travels a lot, you should expect that the number of travel is going to reduce. And if you are used to not having him or her around all the time, you should expect that this time around, he will be around. And so you should know how to handle that situation. I believe there's going to be restrictions on the shared spaces, especially if you use a common kitchen in the office. For my organization, for instance, we've been told that we may require to even make provisions for our own cutlery, our own plates, our own cups. And that is just to ensure our safety, and that they are going to limit the number of people who use the kitchen at the same time. In terms of operational changes, I foresee that as assistants, we may have our workload, we may have an increase in our workload. Remember, we all set goals and targets during the beginning of the year, and executives may want to catch up on time, and so they may want to do a lot of things at the same time. And since we are supporting them, we also find ourselves doing same. I also foresee that now we are going to have most of our meetings and events being conducted virtually, just as we are doing now. And so if you are used to organizing face-to-face meetings, you should now master the way to organize such meetings virtually. I also foresee, as my colleagues have already shared, the possibility of job cuts. Some of us may end up losing our job, but that is not the end of the world. I also foresee that some of us may have an increase in the number of executives who may be supporting. If we have colleagues that are let go, that means their workload will be added to us. And as we continue to rely heavily on internet, I also foresee IT challenges, just like it happens to me just at the moment when I was able to make my presentation. And all these things that I've shared with you are sources of stress that we need to manage. So what is emotional resilience? Emotional resilience refers to one's ability to adapt to stressful situations, or one's ability to bounce back after a stressful encounter. All these precautionary measures, I'm sure some of us may have oversight responsibility to ensure they are adhered to in our various offices, so it's going to add up to our workload. And these operational changes that we are going through are all giving us stress. And if we are not careful and don't manage it well, we are going to break down. And so we really need to find a way of adapting to those stressful situations. Let me give you an example of what emotional resilience is all about. Earlier this year, we had one of our global directors visiting our country office, and I had to organize a number of donor engagement meetings for her. Unfortunately, during one of those meetings, something went wrong. My executive and the director found themselves stranded at the entrance of one of the offices because I failed to follow through to ensure that they get the necessary security clearance for them to enter the compound. On that day, they had 2 meetings on that compound, one with the Ghana office and then one with the West Africa regional office. Unfortunately, because of that issue, they couldn't attend the first meeting, which was with the Ghana office. And so I had to quickly strategize to find a way of getting them onto the compound for them to attend that important meeting with the West African regional office. In fact, when my executive called me to tell me what has happened, I panicked initially. But I realized that I had to do something about it. Otherwise, they were going to miss those two very important meetings. And the director had a limited time, and so there was no way we were going to be able to reschedule. So I put myself together and then forge ahead. I find a way of getting them access onto the compound, and they were able to have the second meeting. That is what emotional resilience is all about. You go through the challenges, you go through the setbacks, but what is important is how you put yourself together to be able to overcome that situation. Nelson Mandela of blessed memory once said that the greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time that we fail. As assistants, we meet a lot of challenges and setbacks. It is our interest to be able to bounce back even when we face those challenges and setbacks. That is what makes us good assistant. Now, what are some of the traits of an emotionally resilient assistant? They know their strengths and weaknesses, and so they do not allow temporary setbacks to define their identity. They know they don't have to have all the answers, and so they ask for support. When you are going through those challenges, when you encounter those situations where you know you don't have the answers, you really need to seek for support. There's nothing wrong with seeking support. They have an inner sense of confidence in their abilities and to problem solve and cope with situation. They accept adversity when it happens and meet it as a challenge instead of viewing themselves as a victim. When that situation just that I described to you happened to me, I didn't see myself as a victim. I didn't even dwell on the consequences. All that I had to do was to try to manage the situation, find a way out. And that is what emotional resilience assistants do. They admit their mistake and learn from them when it's okay. I made a mistake, I learned from it, and I believe it's not going to happen again. Now, let me share with you some tips that will help you maintain your emotional resilience even as we go through this pandemic and afterwards. We need to develop a positive attitude or mindset. We need to manage our time. As I said earlier, there's the possibility that our workload might increase. And so we really need to find a way of managing our time to be able to handle that. We need to take responsibility for our actions. We need to be optimistic, focusing on the goal and finding solutions. We need to be persistent, not giving up and then, saying that there is nothing you can do. There's always something you can do. And so that is what you need to focus on. We need to be flexible and adapt to changes because changes are coming every day. We need to also maintain some sense of humor. Even as you are going through that challenges, you should know that it's not the end of the world. There's light at the end of the tunnel. You are going to come out of it. And so you shouldn't take everything seriously to heart. We also need to ask for support. This is the time where, peer networking is very vital for our survival. And so you should reach out to your peers in the industry so that when you need help, you can call on them. We also need to engage in self-care. We need to exercise, we need to eat well, we need to learn to relax. We also need to keep a connection with our spiritual side. It doesn't matter what faith you believe in. This is the time you need to actually reach out to your maker so that when you're going through those situations, prayer helps. I do that a lot. And then finally, we actually need to learn to be lifelong learners. There are a lot of resources available for us as assistants. We should really make use of it and then to upgrade ourselves, upskill ourselves so that even if you lose your job, you know that opportunities are abound and you can quickly jump onto another. To end it all, I will say that if you are going through challenges, if you are going through any setback, you should remember that you are stronger than that challenge. You are stronger than that setback. And as you go through, you are growing stronger and wiser through those challenges that you are going through. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, on your presentation on emotional resilience, which is a key thing that we need to have in this post-pandemic issues. So I'd love to hear the panel's view on the opportunities that are most likely to present themselves in the midst of the global COVID-19 crisis which we are in, especially for the executive assistants within the hospitality industry. Anyone can pick that?
Okay, let me pick that. There is a webinar we recently hosted a while ago, and I want to show this to you guys, and I'm sure you might have seen this. This is according to the World Economic Forum. If I can go back for the analysis there, this is better. In 2020, this was the analysis in 2019, I think 2018, of top skills for the year 2020. They were projecting and predicting. And as you can see, complex problem solving remained to be key on both critical ends. And as you can see along the panel, I'll go down so that you can see the complex ones. So there's a complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordinating with others, emotional intelligence, judgment and decision making, service orientation, negotiation, cognitive flexibility. I believe, like, out of those 10 skills are very relevant within the administrators, the executive assistants. These are your day-to-day jobs. You manage your bosses' activities. You have to think out of your box in terms of coming up with solutions based on what you're doing. I know that we cannot be able to go towards giving solutions to organizations in terms of how they manage, because they have different structures already created. But you, within your capacity, there are solutions you can be able to come up with. And if I scroll down to see what happened within that particular period, you can see some skills went down. You know, things like negotiation skills, they went down. And the reason being is that now people are becoming more digitally averse. The portal where you need to go and face people face to face, as within time, even before this post-pandemic, you are having now getting aligned with solutions in terms of, if you need something, you just go to your phone, you go to that particular app, you subscribe, you get information about it, to even an extent of even subscribing some prescriptions for yourself. And this has been brought together by the digital transformation which is currently ongoing. And now within this current post-pandemic, or currently those who are in crisis or in lockdown, you're forced, even if you say you'll sleep the whole day, you'll find yourself waking up trying to look for something to do if you don't have. And this leads to, in terms of what are some of the solutions, and I heard some of you mentioning about them. Some of the solutions are Slack, Trello, and cloud solution based. So there's so many opportunities out there that you can be able to look into, and you can be able to make use of yourself. I've seen people coming up with initiatives. Right now, countries like Senegal, I know even Kenya is also doing the same. They're coming up with their own solutions in terms of the current pandemic that we're having, and innovating and being our own solutions provider. So you as a PA, where can you be able to pull strings across so that you can be able to be on demand? Your skills become on demand, not as a requirement. And people are saying perhaps administration work will be less. No, administration work will actually be more, as Rebecca put it. You'll have a lot of admin work coming out. People will now start to look for, how do I get this document? How do I get this particular content? I need this particular PA. And there's even a notion of, where can we come up with a solution whereby you can offer a freelance opportunity where we have all the PAs who are offering different solutions, and then they get paid online from working from home. And as I end, is to say that now is a time for not working one job. You have to be more than what you're currently doing. I know some of the panelists here, some are trainers in other institutes. They also offer their own services in terms of different avenues in building their own careers, and that's what I would encourage most of you in terms of this particular pandemic. So over to the next panelist, and I thought that would be important for me to share.
Yeah. So the question was on what?
No, on the opportunities that are most likely to present themselves in the midst of this global COVID-19 crisis. So especially for executive assistants within the hospitality industry.
There's no question or doubt that the hospitality industry has been hit. Travel industry, they've been hit hard by this COVID-19. So as an executive assistant in this space, now you understand the industry, you understand how money is made. As a matter of fact, even before COVID, the hospitality industry was under threat due to the disruption that had come, for example, the Airbnbs and so forth. Hotels, for example, were failing to fill up their rooms because people are just going into Airbnbs. So disruption has been happening in that space, but it's now been accelerated by the COVID pandemic. However, as an executive assistant, I think I mentioned in my presentation earlier on, you have proven yourself, you've got the necessary skills. It's time, number one, to be a point of call for consultancy. It's an opportunity for you. Organizations are going to come to you and say, you know, where to next? And that's a question that many people always ask. Become a consultant. You have got so many years of experience as an executive assistant. The other thing is not to be rigid about the industry that you need to operate in. You already are an executive assistant regardless of the industry. So you can't say I'm an EA for telecoms and an EA for mining. You are an EA first of all before anything else. So develop your executive assistant skills, but prepare yourself either to be a consultant or to shift industry altogether. When something is not working, don't try and flog a dead horse. If the industry collapses, and goes in, there's an analysis that was done concerning industry and tourism and air travel and all that are industries that are going to really have a hard knock. It will take months, some will take years to even come back. Talk about an example of Virgin Airline in Australia. The second largest airline has gone down. Here in South Africa, there's an airline gone down. All these are affecting the hospitality industry, travel and tourism. And for a long time, it will be difficult for people to travel across continents and so forth because of what is happening. However, as I said, you have the skill, don't despair. All you need to do is open yourself up to other industries outside of hospitality. But open yourself again to the hospitality industry in as far as consulting is concerned. They may bring you to train, they may bring you to consult and put systems together. Use your experiences in that kind of space. I would say there are also many other tools that you can access. It brings us back to the recording under the virtual executive assistant. There's a whole recording, a webinar that we did. This is part 2 of that particular one. There are many opportunities that were shared in there for an executive assistant in general. I think that will do justice to the question. Thank you.
Rebecca, your views? Are you there? Nana? Okay, I think Andrew, your view?
Andrew, you are on mute. Andrew, unmute yourself.
Sorry.
We can hear you now.
Oh, indeed, Vicky. Thank you so much. But I want to quote the words of Winston Churchill, who said that a pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, and an optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. Indeed, the industry is facing turbulence. But what I'd wish to say is that there are varied items or activities to be carried out. My brother has mentioned about consultancy, but I'll bring in the issue of being an author. They can write books for us to buy. They can venture into counseling. So there are a number of industries that people in the hotel industry can venture in. It is only for them to realize that this is the right direction to follow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is Nanna there or Rebecca? I think I'll go to an interesting questions. And I think Andrew, you'll help me answer, and then followed by Rabison, yeah? Government offices are literally not paperless. How can government offices up their game in order to go paperless? And that will allow easy flow when working from home. You have to, you find out that you need to receive a document regularly. So if you're not in the office, you're able to find backlog when you report back. What is the way forward? Andrew, you can help us answer that question, and then Rabison, I'd love you to answer as well.
Thank you, Vicky. Take this example that you go home and you only meet your kids with a sanitizer. They want to sanitize their father coming in the house. This has not been the trend before, but now the culture has come in. I'm very sure most of the government, they are really working it out, because even right now, there are many colleagues who are working from the house. So there's a change that is coming, even if it may take a longer period, but there is change, because culture, the environment has been changed. We have been tipped off, and therefore we are trying to come up with even how do we scan the documents, we do it online. And the policies are even being worked on, especially like in my docket. We are developing policies where we don't need any paperless work. And I'm believing that even after the pandemic, this is going to be the in thing. And the two questions come in. Is it an in thing or is the right thing to do? So all of them, the environment is taking us to a shape where we have to accept the reality. And the reality is that we have to go paperless. So time will tell, and time is now. I think it has spoken already.
Thank you very much, Sir Andrew. And I think I've been given an opportunity to answer that one as well. I'd already answered in the Q&A section, but for the benefit of everybody, yes, going paperless is something we've discussed for many years. Even the environment is demanding for us to do that. However, right now, while we are in lockdown, if you want to be effective in terms of the paperless agenda, the low-hanging fruit, without using, very expensive technology, the low-hanging fruit right now is when you prepare your document in Word, in Excel, or whatever application, or even if it's an accounting report that you have created, and you want people to put comments on it, you don't have to print and mail it. The only thing you need to do is convert from that application into PDF. I'm just talking about the short-term solution. Convert it to PDF. Every application allows for PDF conversion. What happens on the other end, when people want to fill in that form that you've created, when people want to put comments and annotate and highlight, etc., they simply use an easy program like Acrobat Readers. That's one of many PDF readers. Some allow you to edit PDF files. Some tools allow you to convert from PDF to Word. So there is no excuse right now for people to be waiting for papers. When you have a physical document, let's say a physical document you receive via a courier, a physical document, you can digitize it using your phone. There are tools that you can download from Google Play Store or the iPhone Store, where you can convert your phone to a scanner. You no longer need a whole digital scanner. Your phone can be converted into a scanner. It's part of the digital transformation. So you can digitize, okay? You can digitize any document that you receive. Even if it's 20-pager, you can convert it back to a PDF and begin to send it across. So these are just the low-hanging fruits. Long-term solution, when you go back, when you have a budget for your digital transformation, strategy, you now need to invest in what is known as a document management system. Xerox is one. There are many other types that exist out there, where in finance, we can push a document from one corner of the office. It goes through 9 different offices, people putting signatures. And by the way, my Acrobat Reader allows you to put an electronic signature. Right now, that's what I'm doing myself. I receive a document, I fill in electronically, and then I put my signature. And document management system will be able to help you with that. What's different between these two systems? The initial one, the simple one, which you can do now, and the one that I'm talking about, of course, number one is issue of cost. Number two is issue of managing the audit trail. A document management system will allow you to manage who did what to which document. That's why you have that kind of system. In a PDF format, you don't know where it's floating. Is it in whose email? Who's been sitting on the document for a long time, etc. So lobby for the implementation of a document management system when you go back. But for now, do what you can with what you have to bring about solutions to your business. Thank you. Let me take that question, Joseph. Some of the critical skills going into the future, you realize that businesses now operate online. So as an executive assistant, you need to understand, number one, in what new ways are we going to be marketing our business? Over the last couple of weeks, I actually went online trying to find digital marketing courses, because the way we market is now different. It's no longer a time of billboards and newspaper articles. It's now about digital marketing. We are not saying become a digital marketing expert, but be aware about digital marketing, because you are going to be helping people market their products within the organization. And you are going to see digital marketing campaigns being done, and you're able to critique as an executive assistant. Remember, you're the eye and the ear of the executives. So when certain things go wrong, they expect you to solve them. So when you have digital marketing ideas, you're helping profiles. Second key skill that is required is project management. I think we can never overemphasize that particular skill, because if you're a project manager, because you remember you said you're a change agent, and sometimes you'll be thrown into project teams to be able to coordinate certain projects, whether they give you a role of project owner or project reporting skills and so forth. Which leads me to the third skill you require to hone in, the report writing skills, very critical, because as we go into the new era, a lot of reporting will happen, online reporting, etc. Develop those particular skills. Fourth skill, and somebody mentioned it earlier on, you need to develop your spreadsheet skills, your advanced spreadsheet skills, because that's where analytics is happening. You want to be able to analyze the business. Remember, when you go to your boss, you're not just taking stuff as raw materials, as it were. You process. But how do you process information? You put it into Excel, and you do your analytics. By the time you present it, it's ready for decision makers to be able to make the relevant decisions. So these are some of the skills necessary. Problem solving, that has always been the case, because you are solving new problems. By the very nature of business, the challenges that organizations face are going to keep mutating. Right now, with the COVID era, if you develop skills right now on safety and health, develop skills right now to become a thought leader in that space, your organization will benefit from it. So I think more than anything, remain aware what the business model is about. What business are we in? What are we marketing? Where are we marketing? Where is our customer? All these are skills necessary to be able to be relevant to your business. I would say others can add the skills I may have left out. Thank you.
What are your views, Andrew?
Thank you. Just to add on what Robinson has said, the multi-skilling is also a skill that you can run almost 3 maybe activities at one time. And an EA who is able to conceptualize ideas is able to be at the top of the organization, because you are able to understand the intuition that is necessary. Still on communication, an EA need to have very strong writing skills, writing skills that when you are giving a document, it is able to be interpreted, whichever the consumer of the document, because you'll find the consumers differs. There are those ones who are literate, there are those ones who are illiterate, and they need to consume this document that you are working on. So it is important that you have very strong skills, and these strong skills, they are married together with conceptualizing, because you are able to understand the idea in advance and then understand which are the people that I'm working on, so that I can communicate this idea in a very fervent way.
My second question, thank you so much, Andrew. My second question will be, how can an executive assistant and admins be effective while working at home, and especially when dealing with stakeholders who are out of office? Anyone can answer that?
Hello? Can I take up that question?
Yes, Rebecca, you can.
Okay, so as we are all working virtually, it's really essential for us to organize ourselves. And it hasn't been easy, especially for those of us who are working from home. I'm doing so myself, and it's been quite challenging. And so what you have to do is that you need to really organize yourself. If we are supposed to start work at 8 o'clock and end at 5 p.m., you need to psych your mind and do exactly that. And on the level of engaging with stakeholders that are outside, out of office, one thing you can do is to communicate with them through emails. And then if you have their numbers, you can call them. They haven't gone on holiday, so they are not in the office, but they are working virtually. So you need to find a way of connecting with them. I'm sure there'll be cases where you don't have their personal phone numbers. And so you find it very difficult trying to get in touch. That is why it's essential you connect to a community, especially when it has to do with peer networking. This is where you need to up your game. This is where you have to up your game in peer networking, so that you might not have the number, but you might know a colleague or a peer in the industry who can give you access to that. And so we really need to make use of our network in situations like this. Thank you.
I wish to add. Hello, can I add?
Yes, Andrew, you can add.
Yeah, another item that I'd wish it be shared to all of us is for you to work at home. Become a CEO of your career. Being a CEO of your career, you are able to know your customers, understand your customers' needs, then you are able to deliver in an appropriate way. Because you cannot work at home, you do not know your customers, and you are able to deliver. And that one is married together with the skills that you are able to get online or in academic situation. If you understand your customer very well, you understand who is your CEO, you understand the colleagues that you work with, you can get how to have meetings, you can use emails, packages like Trello, packages like SPSS when you are doing the analyzing of data, collection and collecting, so that it is able to feed your customers in a way that is well understood.
Towards ending of this particular webinar. But before I end, I wanted to thank each and every one of you who participated. As we conclude, mine is to say there are many questions which have been raised. And if you feel we were not able to cover some of the questions, feel free to write to us on the links that we've already shared with you. And we'll be able personally, and I'll be able to share the contacts for the panelists who've been here, and they can be able to share with you these particular insights and how best we can be able to manage. But over and above, the essence of this particular webinar is to motivate you, to bring you to a notion of things have not stopped, life is going on, and there is so much that you can be able to accomplish out there. In the whole month of April, ABMC has been offering free courses, and these were to enable most of you to be able to get those skills that you were not able to perhaps attend. You would not be able perhaps to attend to a different program. We are able to give you those skills just to enable you that past pandemic, you already have the skill sets. You don't have to struggle in between. And as we continue, I would like to also emphasize to say, it's not the end of these particular courses. Currently, we have so many other courses which are currently coming up. Now, virtually, we've also gone online, and it's an even better opportunity. You pause, you go do your own stuff, come back, you continue doing your own learning based on your own learning curve. So no one is there to push you. It's purely based on your competencies and also your discipline. So we have so many programs which are coming up, and I just wanted to show to you on the screen. Some of them we were able to give at open-ended. We are fully sponsored last month, but currently these courses and many more we are currently offering at ABMC. And this is just to support you in terms of saying, hey, we know things have changed. This is the new normal. Let's adopt it. And as we were ending, and some of the speakers who were saying that we need to also be realistic and true to ourselves. Life is not going to be the same as it were. As we're going back to work, perhaps those who work in the hotel industry, you'll be having your mask on, you'll be having space, perhaps the numbers might not be as much as possible. But as we go on, we'll be able to come out of this particular situation, and people will adapt to it. We'll have the resilience that Rebecca was telling us this afternoon webinar. But all in all, this is to motivate you to say thank you. Any parting thoughts perhaps from Rebecca, Nanna, Rabison, and Andrew? Any parting thoughts? As guys are able to register for the other webinar. Any parting thoughts? Margaret, you're there, I can see you.
Okay, let me do this before I shoot out.
Yes.
The change that's upon us depends on us. The success of your career, the success of your organization depends on you. I know some people were sharing about discouragement. Yes, we are anxious, we are discouraged, but I always say, keep hope alive. You are alive, and that's the first and most important thing. Your family needs you. This is not time to go into depression. This is not the time to be anxious. Let your anxiety push you. Stand on your anxiety to be able to see beyond where you are. I always say, pile up even your past achievements, however small they've been. Pile them up, stand on them to see beyond where you are. A young man called David was able to kill a giant simply because he looked at his past and says, if I did that before and I'm here now, I can do that. So that's my parting shot to you. Be encouraged. This world needs you. Your family needs you. We all need you. Some of you are going to be facilitators like ourselves going into the future. Don't take for granted your experiences now. I like what Andrew said earlier on. Document your experiences. Write books like some of us. It doesn't take a PhD to write a book. If you need help through ABMC, we'll be able to do another webinar at one point about book writing for those who are interested. And I'm sure I would want to volunteer myself to be part of that webinar. But thank you very much for everybody who participated. I'll leave other panelists to give their parting shots.
Thank you, Rabison. Indeed, Joseph and the team, we are very glad. Personally, I'm very happy. And this pandemic will end. What I want to leave is a quote. When a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much.
Okay, Nanna. So I mean, just to add on to everything that has been said, I just want to say that in our chosen field, we've been privy, or we've come across, or we've garnered a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, a lot of skills that would help us to excel in whatever endeavor we find ourselves in. And so I just want you to know that no matter what happens in this pandemic, the future is still very, very bright. You are not, as an executive assistant, you are not skilled, or you are not programmed to be in one thing. You are not in a shell. You can capture the world. You can do the best. You can use the power that you have within you to make it happen. So go make it happen. The world is yours.
Thank you, Nanna. Amazing. Is Rebecca there? As Rebecca is joining us in.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, can I go ahead? Okay, so what I want to say finally is that as assistants, we should believe in our abilities, and we should also value the contributions that we make in our various organizations. This is a very honorable profession, and so we should see it as that. And as my colleagues have already said, there's so much potential in this profession, just that some of us fail to look out for those potentials. So now let's try to find some of the areas we can go into, even if we lose our job or we want to get out of this profession. We've gathered the skills, we've gathered the knowledge, we've gathered the experience, as Linda said. And so we have what it takes to take on whatever we want to do. This pandemic is going to go away. We are stronger than whatever situation that we face.
Thank you so much. We are much stronger than this pandemic, and we are definitely going to get out of it. So the recordings for this particular webinar will be shared with all the participants. Either if you didn't attend or you attended, you'll definitely get the same. We'll also share the slides for the presenters so that you can be able to have and also follow through what the presentation was all about. Thank you so much. God bless you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing you more in other of the opportunities that you're currently offering. Thank you so much.